The moment we see a person doing evil, we should ask him to stop it and enjoin the people towards the good. But unfortunately, we Muslims, we are not doing our duty. If we do not do dawah, if we do not enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong, we aren't fit to be called kuntum khaira ummatin. And the Holy Quran mentions in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 143, that we have made you a community justly balanced, the middlemost community, Ummat al-Wasat, so that you may be a witness over the nation, and the messenger will be a witness over you. It's the duty of every Muslim, the whole Ummah, to be a witness over the other people, over the other nations, and the beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, will be a witness over us. The other verse of the Holy Quran I quoted in the beginning of my talk was from Surah Daawah, chapter number 9. Surah Daawah happens to be the most militant surah of the Holy Quran. Why do I say that Surah Daawah is the most militant surah of the Holy Quran? Because it's the only surah in the whole Quran which does not start with the beautiful formula Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Otherwise, each and every chapter besides Surah Daawah, all the other 130 chapters of the Holy Quran start with the beautiful formula Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. For example, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul a'udhu bi Rabbin Nas. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul a'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwallahu ahad. Every surah starts with the beautiful formula Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. But Surah Tawbah does not start with this beautiful formula. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you read the first few verses, verse number 1 to 4, there is a treaty between the Muslims and the pagans of Makkah, a peace treaty. And this peace treaty was unilaterally broken by the mushriks of Makkah, by the pagans of Makkah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them a warning in verse number 4 and verse number 5. He says that if you do not put things back within 4 months, then there will be a declaration of war. If you do not put things back in 4 months, there is a declaration of war. And Allah says in verse number 5 that after the 4 forbidden months are over, wherever you find these mushriks, wherever you find this pagan, slay them in every stratagem of war. But if they ask for forgiveness, you may let them go. But Allah is giving a warning. Whenever any warning is given, but natural, you have to be firm, you have to be militant. For example, if you're walking with your wife on the road, or I'm walking with my wife or my sister on the road, and suppose there is a hooligan who snatches the handbag of your sister or of your wife and he runs away. But natural, you will chase the hooligan, and the moment you catch him, you will not say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. You will not say Assalamu alaikum, may peace be on you. You will say, hey mister, give the handbag or break your arm. Hey mister, give the handbag or break your neck. You have to be firm. You have to be militant. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He gives a warning to the mushriks of Makkah, Bismillah is uncalled for. Therefore I say that Surah Tawbah is the most militant surah of the Holy Quran. But by the time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the time He reaches verse number 23 and 24, we Muslims, we are in the firing line. We Muslims, we are in the firing line. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing us Muslims in Surah Tawbah, chapter number 9, verse number 24 by saying, Qul in kana aba'ukum. Say whether it be for your father, wa abna'ukum, or your sons, wa ikhwanukum, or your brothers, wa azwajukum, or your spouses, your wives, or your husbands, wa ashiratukum, or your relatives. Allah is saying, what are your considerations? Your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your spouses, your relatives, what are your considerations? Otherwise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, in Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 20 and 24, that after worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the next duty is to be kind to your parents. And Allah says that I have ordained to you that you worship none but Allah, and that you be kind to your parents. But at the same time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says in Surah Nisa chapter number 4, verse number 134, that Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice and witness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you have to go against yourself, against your parents, against your kith and kin, or for the rich or poor, for Allah protects both. Before justice, you even have to go against yourself or your parents. Otherwise, you have to always respect and love your parents. So Allah says in Surah Tawbah chapter number 9 verse number 24, what are your considerations? Your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your wife, your relatives, what are your considerations? And Allah continues, وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ فَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا. The wealth that you have amassed, the business in which you deal, the dwellings in which you delight, the house in which you live. Allah says, what are your considerations? The business, some people may say, no, if I do Daawah, then the non-Muslim customers will not come to my business. They will not come to my shop. What are your considerations? The wealth that you have amassed, the house in which you live. Allah says in Surah Baqarah chapter number 2 verse number 261 that if you sow one grain in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will give you 7 years, each year bearing 100 corns, 100 grains. That means if you sow one grain or one corn in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will give you 700 grains or 700 corns. Imagine, 700 times profit. If you calculate in business terminology, it is 70,000% profit. I want to know which business, in which business will you get 70,000% profit? Allah promises you, and Allah continues and says, I will give you many-fold more. So if you put your wealth in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah promises you no less than 700 times, 70,000% profit. So Allah asks you, what are your considerations? Your father, your sons, your brothers, your wives, your relatives, your wealth, your business, the house in which you live, and Allah continues. أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ. If you love all these things more than Allah, His Rasul, and doing jihad in the way of Allah, Allah says, فَتَرَبَّصُوا, you wait. Allah is asking us Muslims to wait. And believe me, we are waiting, sitting on our backside doing nothing. What does Allah mean when He says, فَتَرَبَّصُوا? What does Allah mean in the Holy Quran when He says, wait? What does He mean? For example, if suppose a teacher says in the classroom that look out for a word in a book, when the students are reading in a book, and when the teacher says look out for a word, the teacher actually means you should look in the book, not look out of the book. It exactly means the opposite. That's the genius of the language. When the teacher says look out for the word, she actually means you have to look in the book, not look out of the book. Similarly, suppose there's a senior student in the school who is bullying a junior student. And when the senior student is bullying the junior student says that you wait till I get my elder brother. and his elder brother happens to be